Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge.
And I'm Ashley Sledge.
And let's talk horror.
Today we're going to do our review on 2024's Oddity.
Yeah, so after the brutal murder of her twin sister, Darcy goes for those responsible by using haunted items as her tools for revenge. Now, that is probably the worst plot synopsis you could ever have for this film.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about some of the positives, some of the negatives, and then we're going to spoil the film for you.
So if you haven't seen it yet, please go to the theater, check it out. It is definitely worth it, but let's get right into the positives of Oddity.
So the opening is very suspenseful. We get a little bit of it in the trailer, but it's very suspenseful, and you're like, what's really going on here? What's not going on here? And it's creepy, and you're like, oh, don't do it.
It definitely has like a When a Stranger Calls type vibe to the opening, where you're just on the edge of your seat and fearful throughout the whole opening. But the movie's creepy throughout. The best thing I can say about this movie is you're just unsettled throughout the whole movie. It doesn't utilize jump scares and be over-reliant on things like that. This movie scares you with its pacing and its story, and it does a really good job of doing that.
It's just very dark, and and speaking of unsettling, the score makes it feel even more unsettling. It's just like this eerie, like dreadful score, and it fits so well with the movie.
But there are moments of levity. Obviously, when we talk about Darcy, the sister, she is blind, and one of the girls is like, Yana is like, have you seen my keys? And Darcy's like, I have not seen anything. And, you know, just a moment that very subtle, but still very funny.
Yeah. And then the sound design in the third act, I don't think it's no surprise, like, the monster, how it moves, and just things like that. The sound design, it makes it really like
fantastical almost.
And yeah.
Obviously we're not going to spoil things right now with the film. We'll do that in our spoilers, but the monster, this movie subverts your expectations. You watch the trailer, you really think you're getting one thing, and you get something completely different, and I think that's a huge positive to the film. I went in probably thinking I already had the movie figured out, and it subverts what you think is going to happen based on the trailer. So my opinion of the trailer has gone up tenfold after watching the actual film. So without spoilers, that's about as positive as we can get for now. So let's get right into the negatives of Oddity.
So some of the negatives, there's some bland characters that you really could care less about, you root against. You just think that they're
either bland or just really shitty.
Yeah, they're just like not good people. So you're like, fuck those people.
Right. And as people that are big fans of kills and practical effects, way too many off-screen kills.
Yeah.
Again, we'll talk more about that in the spoilers, but a lot of the kills throughout this movie are done off-screen.
There's a lot of, you see things one way and then the character looks away and then it's back to normal. There's a lot of that going on, and it's like,
it's cool to do that once or twice.
Yeah, but throughout the entire film, like, come on, we're overplaying this a little bit.
Wait, was he looking at me? No, he wasn't. Wait, was there someone down that hallway? No, there wasn't. You know, it starts to play you for stupid when you start to see that stuff too much.
Yeah.
The twist of the movie was quite predictable.
I called it
right
away.
So
early on.
Right away.
And he was like, oh, no, that's too obvious. I was like, okay.
I was like, they're making that too obvious. There's no way that's what's going to happen. She nailed it. I was like, okay. So it is a pretty predictable twist. Part of it I didn't see coming. I thought more people were going to be involved than what were.
Yeah.
But still very predictable twist. And again, this movie isn't one that's relying on a twist. This isn't a Saw or something like that where the twist is your inevitable make or break of the film.
I think it probably did hint it throughout the film on purpose.
Yeah.
You know.
But if you're going in it looking for what the twist may be, you're going to figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah. And then you didn't really get much of a wrap up. The way it ends is pretty just like, okay.
Like, cut. Print
yeah. And I guess it isn't a satisfying end. Like, you want a certain person to
get their comeuppance.
Yeah.
And you want to learn more about a mannequin that you don't really...
Yeah, that's true, too.
And like I said, we're going to talk about that in the spoilers. And what a segue, because like I said, a lot of these positives, a lot of these negatives may seem very, very vague we don't want to spoil it for you guys if you haven't seen it. So please go make sure you check it out. Come back and check out our spoilers, and we're going to get into those right now.
All right, so now we're going to get into some spoilers. We have an opening cut, and you really don't know what's going on and who did it, and even who the person is that it happened to. You know nothing, and you have so many questions. And they do fill it in later on, but it's just like, what's going on here?
It's a writing technique I've never been a fan of.
Yeah.
You know, showing something in the opening, not completely, and then filling in the blanks as you go along. It's just something I personally have never been a big fan of.
I think it's because I ask a lot of questions when that happens.
She does. And I'm like, I'm watching the same movie as you for the very first time. Okay. I don't know.
I know, but you should know.
We do know the guy with the glass eye. We see him in the trailer when he's outside the door. He does get murdered pretty gruesomely off screen, of course. But his head's completely crushed in, and all that's left really is his glass eye still intact.
Yeah, which is crazy that brutal murder, his glass eye, like, survived it, but, like, his skull was smashed in.
Completely smashed in.
That is a pretty good glass eye that he's got going on.
This would have been an amazing scene to see happen.
Oh, absolutely, because the aftermath looks really awesome.
Yeah.
And then you're introduced to Darcy. This is the sister. She's blind, and she's psychic, and she owns this little antique shop. And her motto is like, everything's cursed until you buy it, which I think is awesome, because who's going to steal and, you know, potentially get cursed?
Exactly.
Yeah. So she tells this story. She has this bell that she's holding, and she tells this story about this evil bellhop who is getting attacked, who is attacking someone and then falls down the stairs. And the next day, the lady rings the bell, and who else is there?
It's the ghost of the bellhop.
Yes, this
He's
evil
back.
Bellhop. So I really love the story and how she tells it.
And Ted, who was Danny's husband, I guess would be Darcy's brother-in-law.
Yeah.
He wants to ring the bell so bad. You could tell he came there to give her the glass eye. That's why he came there. But you know, he moved on pretty quick to a woman named Yana, and she moved in with him already, and she's seeing the ghost of Danny all throughout the house.
Yeah, and so she has Danny's camera, and she's going through the pictures, and it looks really cool, and just like there's a scare that comes along with it that really gets you. Yes.
Yeah. And when you see, you know, the ghost in Danny's camera when she's scrolling through the pictures, like, it just looks so good. Like, it really does. Good. Like, it looks so damn good in that moment.
And yeah, I would be like, I'm out. Like, bye.
Right. Well, when we finally figure out that we finally see how Danny was killed, it's by a guy with like a wax face mask, and it's terrifying looking. It's really good. But like, it shows him standing outside of a tent with a hammer, and then it just cuts to a bunch of blood and him sitting there.
It's like, I would have loved to have seen this brutal kill.
Yeah.
Would have been awesome.
Yeah.
So then you have Yana. She is seeing Danny's ghost everywhere. She sees it in the camera. She sees her around the house. She's
all at
trying
different
to
points.
Tell her something.
Yeah. And one of the best times is when she sees her in the room and Danny's just like, run. And
yeah,
like,
that got me. She was in the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, that one
that
got
was
me.
a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out later that Darcy killed Olin. We don't know if she did it or if she used something else to do it. Mm-hmm. But Darcy is the one that killed Olin and bashed his head in like that at the hospital.
Yeah, and then you find out that Ted had Ivan the orderly kill his wife and frame it on Olin. Like, what an asshole.
Olin was there because he heard them talking through the vent.
Yes, and he was
just went there to try to stop.
And how, like, now he has this whole story that he can tell because this guy who lives in a psych ward was there. So now he can blame it on him. So he really got out scot-free there.
Right. Well, Ivan goes back to the house because they're going to try to kill Darcy. Like, she knows too much. She tells Ted, I know it was you. I could kill you right now, but I'm not going to. Mm-hmm. I want to ruin you.
Yeah, I want you to lose this
everything
house.
you have.
I want you to lose your girlfriend, your job, everything.
And I thought Yana was in on it. She is not. Like,
just the way she acts. She just acts like this. Like,
she's guilty.
Like,
they were sleeping together before. They make it. You know, they let you know they were sleeping together before Danny was killed.
Killed his wife.
That's why he killed his wife. Was because he didn't want to lose the house.
He's a disgusting man. That's why.
And it's so funny because like they try to make you feel a little like reprieve for him because when Ivan's gonna go kill her, he's like, could we make this like a sexual thing?
Yeah, which you're nasty, Ivan.
And even Ted's like, no,
Yeah.
Gross. Don't do that. And he's like, but what if it turns into that? And Ted's like, it's not going to turn into that, Ivan. I need you to understand me. You know, so it's like, he wants to kill his wife, and at least he has those morals where sexual assault is still wrong. You know, like, killing someone's bad enough, man. Like, but when Ivan's there, the wooden mannequin comes to life. And I want to say, they really, when I was talking earlier about them subverting your expectations, you think the movie's going to be about this killer wooden mannequin. It is not. The movie has very little to do with that mannequin. Yeah. But when then it's great that it does, because it's just like Bruce the Shark, because when this mannequin comes to life, holy shit, it is scary.
Yeah. And Ivan also, when you're talking about, like, we don't really get to know a lot about it.
You don't know anything about it. We
don't know, other than where it came from, you get nothing on this mannequin. I would love a backstory on this mannequin.
And I don't think we'll get to that in a minute, because I don't think the story's over with the mannequin, but Ivan's running from the mannequin to try to, like, get away. So he, like, tries to jump off the balcony, and when he does, his leg breaks. And it is so gross. But the best part about this whole scene is we finally get to see this wooden mannequin coming to life.
Yeah. So Ted, he murders Darcy. He opens a hatch in the floor, and he tells her that he's going to go call the detective at his office, and he's going to leave his phone over here, and when she calls, to answer it. And then he opens the hatch, like, oh, what?
Well, and the thing is, like, because they early in the movie, they set this up early in the movie because Danny has to sit at this one spot in order to get service.
Yeah.
She can't get service anywhere else except for this one spot.
So he's going to leave it over here. So when I call,
when the phone rings,
make sure
you need to answer it, because I'm going to have the detective call you. He opens that hatch on the floor, so when she starts to walk over, she falls through and she ends up dying.
I mean, which is smart. Like, he is definitely a sociopath.
And obviously she can't see it because she's blind.
Right.
But this part, again, she doesn't die right away. She lays there suffering for a little bit. And like I said earlier, when that wooden mannequin comes to life, it's just absolute insanity. Ashley talked about it during the positives. The sound design they do of, like, the mannequin moving and the sounds that's being made.
Just the way its mouth looks. Oh, it's super creepy, and it's awesome.
Yeah. I love the wooden mannequin. I think it's great. I'm glad that they subverted our expectations, because I think if you would have overdone the wooden mannequin, it would have taken away from the overall suspense and fear of the film.
So then we get Ted. We get clips of this patient that has, like, a
mouth guard.
Like a mouth guard. So
it's like a whole, like, head cage thing.
Yeah, I don't know if they're, like, a cannibal or what.
Definitely something with its mouth.
Yeah, so he actually sets this patient free to kill Ivan, and you get this creepy scene of him
biting
at the foot of his bed, just staring at his toe and then biting in it, and it's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, because Ivan tells Ted, like, he wanted a priest.
Yeah. And he's like, well, if you tell the priest is going to have to convince you to go to the police, or you're going to go to the police, and I just can't have that.
And he's like, I don't care. He's like, I'd rather go to prison than go to hell.
Yeah.
Which is a very strong sentiment from a guy that's done a lot wrong. Because we find out that Ivan was a patient. This whole thing has been set up by Ted.
Oh, yeah.
Ivan was a patient that Ted rehabilitated and then hired as a, like a custodian, cleaner around there, in order to get close to him to convince him to go and kill his wife. And another scene that you had that's really, really heavy, Ted kills the wooden mannequin just by burning it.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you're like, he burned it and it turned to ash, and you don't see the wooden mannequin anymore. I think that there's got to be more to this than that, because this mannequin's been around for a long time. You think no one else has ever tried to burn this mannequin?
Right.
So I would love to see this story continued, but
and maybe it will, and more of our answers will be, more of our questions will be answered. Yeah,
for sure. Because like I said, the more that you think about this movie, the more you're like, I need more.
Yeah.
Like, I need more of this film to, kind of catch up on the things that you didn't explain to me and left me hanging on. But the movie ends with Ted, and he gets a package in the mail, and what is in that package?
None other than that bell.
The bell.
Yes.
And he's sitting there, and he rings it.
He's trying so hard not to, but you can just see, like, he has to know, and
he's looking around,
like,
nothing.
oh, like nothing, like this
nothing.
She's just messing with me.
And then who's beside him at the end?
And then it cuts.
But the bellhop.
Yes.
And that's where we cut to black, and that's where the movie ends.
Which is so unsatisfying, because you want him to get his so bad, because he's this horrible man.
And I do want to say, Yana, after Darcy dies, because Yana left. She wasn't there when Darcy died. When Darcy dies, she wants nothing to do with Ted anymore. And like, he gets a voicemail before he rings the bell, and it's like, do not call me. The reason I'm not answering your calls is I don't want anything to do with you. 2 people died in that house. Like,
and
she
still live there, and that's crazy.
She doesn't think he did it. Even now, she doesn't know that he had anything to do with any of these deaths. And throughout the movie, you're like, she's in on it.
Yeah.
You know, she's definitely in on this.
Her personality, she's just like one of those
shallow, shitty people.
Yes, you don't like her at all.
Right. So, with this movie being a standalone, my ranking of this could change if they decide to continue the story of Oddity. But as a standalone, I'm going to give it a 2.5 because there's a lot that we don't. What is this wooden mannequin? Why do they put the things in its head? There's a lot of questions that are unanswered. And again, don't hold my hand. Don't walk me through it. I can come up with stuff on my own. Maybe whatever you put in the head is what can possess it. You know, whatever. But it would be nice to kind of at least have some type of rules about why the movie is the way it is. So as of right now, as a standalone, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5.
I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5, a little bit higher than Ken. For the scenes that were like super creepy and kind of have you on the edge of your seat, I thought really amped it for me. I loved the dead wife scenes and the ghost scenes. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
Still very much worth your time.
Yes.
Very much worth a watch. Make sure you guys are checking this movie out. Let us know in the comments. What did you think of Oddity? Do you hope that they continue the story, or do you hope that they leave it as a standalone film? Maybe the wooden mannequin really is dead. Nobody ever thought to burn the wooden mannequin before. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help build the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Our links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror.
Stay who you are.
And we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, guys.